So that's it. The investigation into the massacre of 4 Americans in Benghazi is over. We now have all the answers. The Accountability Review Board, commissioned by Hillary Clinton, has released its findings. First of all, there was no protest. And although security was grossly lacking, it's a systemic fault. It's no one in particular's fault. It's everyone's fault. Although it really might be Ambassador Chris Stevens' fault. And so it goes in Washington. Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. From the beginning, the shouting by the White House about a protest in that despicable video, there were whispers about Chris Stevens himself being somehow responsible.
They had a mission, and they believed in it. They knew the danger, and they accepted it.
Chris understood that diplomats must operate in many places where soldiers do not, where there are no other boots on the ground, and security is far from guaranteed.
Really? Ambassador Stevens was not in the military. He was a civilian diplomat. The board also found that Ambassador Stevens made the decision himself to travel to Benghazi independently of Washington. And they wrote he did so with minimum close protection security. They not only write that his plans were not adequate, but they then say that as the president's personal representative, the chief of the mission here, Ambassador Stevens, bears direct and full responsibility for the security of the mission and all personnel. So let me see. So it's all his responsibility, and yet you don't give him the security that he repeatedly requested. It's a classic defense move. When the facts are against you, in this case, the White House, you blame the victim. By assigning blame or responsibility to the victim, you take the onus and the attention off of those responsible. And yet, amazingly, the report finds security was grossly inadequate. And as for reliance on the local Libyan militia, they go on to say, the ambassador did not see a direct threat of an attack of this nature and scale on the mission. Are you kidding? The consulate was attacked twice in the months prior to 9/11. Everyone there was getting danger pay. The jihadists had threatened on Facebook to kill our ambassador. Our ambassador warned Washington in a cable less than 4 weeks earlier that security was, quote, trending negatively, that the militia, this Libyan militia, had been infiltrated by extremists, and there were 10 al-Qaeda training camps in Benghazi. He himself said that they couldn't possibly sustain an organized attack. Now, the Libyan militia infiltrated by extremists. This is the militia that we relied on, but they stopped accompanying us in the weeks and months prior to September 11th. You know why? They were protesting their salary and working hours. Maybe they should take a page out of the Michigan Union members' playbook. And by the way, has anyone thought about the fact that local Islamist militiamen assigned by the host country to protect us live under the law of Sharia, which requires that they are punished by death if they kill an Islamist in protecting an infidel? So instead of beefing up security, the State Department lowers it. Why?
Sir, we had the correct number of assets in Benghazi at the time of 9/11 for what had been agreed upon.
What was she smoking? The report found they didn't even have fire extinguishers, and this obviously impacted the ambassador and Sean Smith's ability to escape. And yet the panel says this about Chris Stevens. His expertise in Benghazi in particular caused Washington to give unusual deference to his judgments. Really? Then why did he never get the help he asked for? But when his remains are returned to the United States, Hillary honors him after he dies, but never gave him the help he needed before he died.
I was honored to know Ambassador Chris Stevens. I want to thank his parents and siblings who are here today for sharing Chris with us and with our country. What a wonderful gift you gave us.
But the report says there's really confusion as to who's ultimately responsible and empowered to make decisions. Really? You don't know who's responsible?
I'm in charge of the State Department, 60,000 plus people all over the world.
If Senator McCain and Senator Graham and others want to go after somebody, they should go after me.
I guess not. They said no single individual is responsible, no disciplinary action is recommended. But the wording of the report is, quote, there is no basis to believe anyone breached his or her duty. Now, there's a fundamental concept in law that if you are negligent in the oversight of those in your charge, you are liable for consequences. Here, security was grossly inadequate, and there were consequences. But they conclude there's no basis to believe anyone breached their duty. Will there be consequences? It appears not. And so it goes. Another Accountability Review Board report to be filed alongside the report from 1999 after American diplomats were killed in Kenya and Tanzania, whose recommendations were also ignored. Which report had already recommended the changes that, had the State Department implemented them, might have saved the lives of 4 innocent Americans butchered in Benghazi.